and hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode, If Not Now Wen. I am so excited. In today's episode, we are really pumped to welcome our special guest, Henrik Johansson, to join us today. Henrik is a very successful serious entrepreneur. He co-founded and built the company Boundless into $100 million business. Wow. Today, he is a co-founder and CEO of Gembah, the world's first end-to-end product development platform and talent marketplace, with a vision to democratize product innovation.
That's right.
We'll chat more about that later. Henry specializes in technology-enabled service, marketplace, and software as a service. He's an expert on scaling businesses, building a world-class team culture with the right infrastructure. Wow. He's been featured in all those amazing places such as Forbes, Entrepreneurs, Austin Business Journal, and was named Counselor of 2017 Person of the Year. Wow. With that, everybody, thank you so much, Henry, for joining us.
Oh,
and
thank
welcome
you.
to the show.
The pleasure is all mine. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Henry, tell us, how do you grow up? How does all the journey begin?
In a small town in Sweden, a
Ooh.
long time ago. We grew up. I'm Swedish. I grew up there. Small town in southern Sweden. Parents that were not entrepreneur or not even entrepreneurial in any way, really. Awesome parents, though. So I grew up there. Really focused. We ran a lot. My dad was sort of the strong, silent type, and former farmer.
Yeah.
Now a bureaucrat, working local government. But the one thing we shared in common and had a passion for was being in the outdoors. So we ended up running a lot. Mm-hmm. We became pretty good at cross country, competed in that. We competed cross country skiing.
Wow.
So that was really the first passion, and I think it really helped create an identity because it was very different from, I'd say, the typical American upbringing where your parents are like, "Oh, you're the best, you're awesome." Our parents didn't push us in any way really, or build us up in any way. So I think that for me, when I won my first cross country race, that was a big deal, and my picture was in the newspaper the next day, and people recognize you in school and stuff like that. So I think that's a big moment for me in my upbringing and helping build my identity.
What does that mean for you?
Well, I think it meant a few things. One thing I think endurance sports or any sports really, I think build endurance, not just in the physical way, but just the ability to tolerate pain and work through obstacles and not whine about them, right? In some way, almost you learn to enjoy it and take pride in it. I often said that I wasn't probably not the most talented runner, but I felt that I could endure more pain than anybody else.
Wow. Do you always that way, or that's a chose characteristic to endure the pain the most?
I don't know, but as I said, I think it became part of my identity, that I felt like, it doesn't matter if they're more talented than me or bigger, I'm just going to push harder.
And will you want to be a runner grow up at that time?
Oh yeah. I saw myself being in the Olympics or something like that.
Then what happened?
I grew too fast. I was pretty short when I was 12, and I was 12, 13. I was one of the best runners in the country.
Wow.
And then I started growing. I'm 6'3" now, and grew too fast, and stretching wasn't really much of a thing back then. At least I didn't know how to do it properly. So my calves and tendons got too short. I got Achilles tendonitis, and then that's plagued me ever since. So it kind of, I had a couple of years where I had decent seasons, but after that I was never quite that good anymore.
Was it hard to be crushed at the first dream that you had?
It was hard at the time, yeah. I was angry at times. Also, for some reason, I got advised to have surgery when I was 15. And today, they would never operate on a young, growing person at that age. But for some reason, that's what I was advised to do, and that just made it worse. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, well,
Wow. How do you pick yourself up? How do you pivot?
Well, I mean, there was a lot going on, right? And you grow up and you start getting interested in girls and having friends and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I was walking around depressed for a long period of time. But running's always been a big part of my life. I think I see it as meditation. I just love running. To me, it feels it's part of who we are, who we're supposed to be. I don't know if you read the book Born to Run, but
No.
it's a brilliant book that really talks about that our species, Homo sapiens, that's one thing that made us different, that made us the dominant species on the planet, was just our ability to run.
Why? It's painful.
Yeah, but before that, then we didn't have shoes, but somehow we were able to run and not get injured, right? Just like all the other animals, human beings seem to be the only ones that get injured from sports and exercise. And you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Part of it is like these stupid shoes that we're wearing. It's like if you run with almost no shoe or barefoot, you crouch a lot instead of sitting in chairs, you can automatically stretch yourself. Anyways, I'm geeking out on running here, but
No, I love that. I love the passion. And I wish I can run for meditate. That sounds like a lovely hobby to have so I can exercise at the same time. But that's amazing that you have such a passion to that.
yeah, it's always been a big part of my life.
So do you always know you want to left your country one day?
No, I really had no idea, and really not even any plans for it. It just kind of happened.
So tell us how this happened.
Yeah. So after small town, I went to university, a place called Linköping. It was a little bigger city. Got my master's of science, electrical engineering, and computer science there. And still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I did start get a sense that maybe engineering wasn't quite my thing. I did my thesis at a big telecommunications company called Ericsson, and I was just, this is not getting me excited, sitting in a basement coding. So last year I took a lot of marketing classes and started looking at potentially other careers or maybe an engineering company, but in sales and marketing function. Then I learned about Andersen Consulting, a management consulting firm that's now Accenture. Back then it was Andersen. And my girlfriend at the time, she applied there, and she said, well, you should apply too. And she ended up not getting a job, and I got the job. And that's what got me Andersen. And it's a big, global firm, headquartered in the U.S. And when joining there, I got to travel to the U.S. And that sort of opened my eyes to that, wow, this could be pretty cool.
And at the time, were you living U.S. already?
No, I was living in Stockholm. So I joined Andersen in the Stockholm office, worked there originally. I mean, it was after they sent you 6 weeks to Chicago, St. Charles training camp with a bunch of clones. They hired a bunch of college grads. And it was an awesome experience. People from all over the world came there for those 3 weeks, and you lived together and worked hard together. And then, so they kind of turn you into a little Andersen clone. And then they sent you projects, and I worked 80 hours a week. I remember 1 week I worked 100 hours, pulled an all-nighter. So it was a great start of a career, I think, because they really taught you a lot of business fundamentals, hard work, ethics, business processes, and stuff like that. So. But it was also, really hard.
Of course.
But I managed to, then I had an opportunity after about a year and a half or so to go to the U.S. on a project. And that's when that door really opened. I came over here. I was in Dallas. It was supposed to be 6 months, and I never went home. Well, I did go home for a little bit to fix visas and stuff like that. But I came over and kind of fell in love with the U.S. and decided to stay.
So when do you first start testing the water of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that was, so I worked for Andersen in Stockholm and then in Dallas, and then I met my now wife, Kashla, and she wanted to go to California. So we moved to San Francisco together in 1995. And, that was the beginning of the .com time, era. So started getting to know people up there that were in the technology space. I'd never even thought about entrepreneurship prior to that, but met some entrepreneurial folks and met my two co-founders from my first company, Creditland. I was locked up. I had to stay with Andersen for 2 years, but as soon as those 2 years were up, I quit and we went and started my first company.
Let's talk about that. Was that scary? I mean, you were the big consulting company. It's a comfort zone, is a challenging experience. You learn a lot. Like, it must be hard to walk away.
It was Yeah, it was a big decision. Financially was, a big drop in pay, of course. I think that what really part of what drove it too is that as a consultant, I was traveling 100% of the time. So there I am in San Francisco, awesome city, me and my girlfriend, and I'm on the road like every week. So that was as much of a driver, I think, for me to wanted to get out of the consulting piece. And then, there was no hotter startup environment in the world than San Francisco in 1997. It was crazy. There was .com popping up everywhere, and it was, as we know now, hubris and overconfidence in what was going to happen. But being there at that time, at the sort of epicenter of this technology evolution or revolution was amazing, and it felt that you couldn't fail. And I think that feeling collectively caused it eventually to create this bubble that eventually failed, but it was an amazing time to be there.
Yeah.
I don't think you didn't worry much about failing because it was so much momentum. You felt that you were on this. Yeah,
I think we all should take that spirit.
Yeah.
I think we all are dreamers, visionaries in our own right.
But then, of course, it's same thing happened. So this is I've been through the .com crash, the Great Recession.
So you were in the .com crash.
Yeah.
In the first business.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. You were so bullish. You're going to the startup. You quit your fancy job, and you're like, "This is awesome." And then boom.
It was incredible.
Tell us more.
So my wife and I got married right before the crash. So at that time, the company, we had raised $35 million, and which back then,
huge,
was a lot. And company was growing fast. We had over 100 employees, and on paper I was worth quite a lot of money. And we're like, oh, let's have this awesome wedding. We had opera singers and Cuban cigars and friends flying in from Sweden. It was an incredible wedding. And then literally like 3 months after that, the crash happens.
How do you take that news that day? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think that the biggest piece was like we had a term sheet on the table. We're going to raise another round. And they pulled it. And it was like an overnight realization that, oh, shit, we don't have money. We can't continue. So we fought a good fight there, tried to negotiate with creditors and, did a couple of rounds of layoffs, brought it down to skeleton crew, tried to sell the business. But, similar as what's happening right now in July of 2022, when that things happen, things like that, everybody just curls up. Investors don't want to write checks. Companies don't want to buy other companies. So we ended up having to shut down the company, basically.
How many years was that after you quit your job? That was
about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
At that moment, were you regretting your choice? In that moment?
I did go back to Anderson and see if they would hire me again, but they weren't hiring. I wouldn't say I regretted it. Of course, you were a bit in a panic mode. It's like we didn't have much savings, and so you were like, what are we going to do? And there was literally, tens of thousands of people in exactly the same situation in the Bay Area, any tech hub, I think. And there weren't any jobs. Nowhere was hiring. So it was, it was scary for a while.
How do you get over that?
Well, finally, I got a job offer from a company in Austin, which is how I ended up here. Initially, it was just a consulting gig. So my first company, Creditland, was an online lending marketplace. So we helped, borrowers, consumers to, we pulled a credit report and we matched them up with different lenders, credit card, mortgage, auto finance, and stuff like that. There's a similar company in Austin that, still had some money in the bank, but didn't know what to do with it. So they brought me down as a consultant. I came down for a couple of weeks, and within weeks, they offered me the job as the president to come in and run the company. So I called my wife. She was still here in San Francisco and said, hey, what do you think about moving to Austin? So that was 2001.
Wow.
And we moved here.
That's quick. And then what's next from there? Do you still have that entrepreneur bug in your heart while you run the business?
I mean, it took, I think, that you have PTSD for a little bit. You're a little shell-shocked, right? It's like, whoa, what happened? So I worked for this other company for a couple of years, but then, started itching again that I want to do this again. I want to start another company. And met my co-founder for Boundless, Jason Black. He had this idea. he was more of a sales business guy. He didn't have anybody with technology background, engineering. So we started talking and decided to start Boundless together.
Wow. I noticed that you are fantastic at meeting the right people.
Yeah, yeah. I got at that time. I actually hired a coach, career coach, and she gave me great advice. She said, "Don't apply to jobs. Nobody gets a job applying to jobs, or at least not the kind of job that you're looking for." So her advice was just go meet people. You're new in Austin. Go meet people. And for everyone you meet, ask them for 2 more people that they would, would introduce you to. And it worked. You meet people, and particularly, I think still in Austin, but back then it was a pretty small community, and people were very welcoming. I think Austin's still an incredibly welcoming town, and that's why so many people come here. Back then, it was a small universe, and pretty quickly I got to know most of the investors and startup CEOs around town, and eventually I got introduced to Jason. And at that time, I was looking for a job, but he had the idea of starting another business. And I'm like, this sounds interesting. So we did. So we started trying to raise money together, and got a small round of funding for our seed funding, and then started the company.
Tell us about that journey. Second time around, how does the experience feel for you?
Yeah, this one, I mean, one thing I learned from the first startup was we tried to do too much at the same time, right? We could have built $1 billion company just focused on credit cards, like Credit Karma or something like that, or credit.cards.com. We tried to do credit cards and auto loans and mortgages and personal loans at the same time, and building a technology platform for that. And, if we would just focused more, our money would have lasted longer, and, we would have had a different outcome probably.
Yeah.
So this time around, what I loved about Jason and this business model was that it was a direct path to revenue. We were going to use some third-party technology while we were building out our platform, but immediately bring on people, existing people in the industry that had a book of business, to bring that in, so that we had a fast path to revenue. So that was one of the biggest takeaways, that keep an eye on how quickly you can monetize things, and not just shoot for the stars and hope that the money's going to come someday. So that was, that worked really well, and we grew very fast for 3 years. From, I think we did $600K the first year, then $5 million, then $12 million, then $24 million. So we pretty much doubled every year until the recession hit. So I was like, oh no, not again.
And then what happened?
Well, at the time, similar again. It's like this. It's interesting. Every company I've started have been venture funded, but it's there's awesome things about VC funding.
Tell us more.
Because you don't have to wait for profitability to invest, right? You can invest in technology. You can hire great people. You can pay people well. You can run fast. But it's easy to get hooked on it, right? It's like VC cocaine almost. Like people, it's great, but then whenever times changes, like they did in '98, like they did in the Great Recession, and like they're doing today, you have to make sure that you're not dependent on it, that you have a plan B. Like if the capital markets dry up, that you're not just left there without it. Unfortunately, with Boundless, it was a similar situation there. One investor had promised us a $10 million check, and they changed their mind. And suddenly we found ourselves that we had to be profitable. Yeah. Fortunately, at that point, we were $25 million in revenue, so there was a clear path to profitability. We just had to reduce cost and get lean, and even though the markets were down, we continued to grow through the whole recession, and became profitable, and then controlled our own destiny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it a hard pivot, or that more like a decide, execute, life is good?
I think one thing that is important trait for an entrepreneur is, Jim Collins called it, to have a great, tolerance for ambiguity, right? That even though things are unknown, and even if you only have 2 months of cash in the bank, that you're okay with that. That you can see where the edge of the cliff is, but you don't really freak out. Of course, it's always there in the back of your mind, and you know you got to fix something before you run over the cliff. But it doesn't. You don't lose sleep over it. Maybe you lose a little sleep, but that you have the ability to face the brutal facts and deal with them.
Do you think this ability is innate, natural, or is a learned ability?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think for me, it's always been. My parents were very even keel. I don't know if they raised their voice a single time during my whole childhood. So I think I'm the same.
Yeah.
My co-founder in Boundless, Jason, he used to say, it's like, Henrik, I can't tell. I can't read you. Aren't you excited? And I said, I am excited, but you don't look excited. I was like, well, this is my excited face. So I think for me, it's probably innate. It's always been there. I tend to not sweat the little stuff or freak out about things, but just have a better pragmatic view of things.
But I'm also thinking, Henry, you are someone who would run for the pain. You know pain gonna be there eventually. You run for it regardless. That is something, isn't it?
I think so. And now when you mention, I was just listening to Lex Friedman's podcast with Joe Rogan. And Lex asked him about how did you get through this? Because it was Joe, he had some guests on the podcast and he got a lot of criticism. And he said part of it was doing mushrooms, which I don't do. But the other part was he worked out really hard. And his opinion was like, if you torture yourself, if you're comfortable with that, then the rest doesn't seem that hard. So there might be something there that I think that having that tolerance for pain is related to that, maybe.
I love that. And, I never work out when I'm in China.
Yeah.
When I start working out in the United States, I love just working out in the morning. I'm not a runner myself, but I do have this one motto I say in my mind. I say, if I can beat myself, if I can put myself in, if I can win this moment for myself, nothing else I cannot do.
Yeah.
And I literally felt it's that moment. It's just me against the universe. It's no one else out there. Me in the gym, me with a dumbbell, me with this weight. It's just me and my intention. If I can conquer this, the world is my oyster.
Yeah. That's well said. I think there's something there.
That's amazing.
We're supposed to, when going back to the whole Born to Run, it's like we're supposed to be working, moving, building caves, chasing down animals, right? That's what bodies were built to do. They were not built to sit on our butts in chairs in front of computers all day. That's just not good for us.
I agree that we born to move, but I'm not sure if I agree that we born to run, because it's a very specific activity that requires a lot of pain. I think I'm going to read the book and just see because I love to work out. I love to do a lot of different type of workout, but running just not in my regiment.
Yeah.
And I truly admire people who love to run. Like, I think it's so simple. You can just put on the shoes, you good to go. You don't need any other fancy things. And I just admire them just can go for the pain. And knowing that even it's there, they go for it anyway, that's admirable.
Yeah. But when you run a lot, it's not painful anymore, right? At least not. You can go a 6-mile run and it doesn't hurt. Sure, you can push yourself, so it does hurt. But that's one of the beautiful things too, right? When you are in really good shape, you feel like you can jump over rooftops. And you can just go on a 6-mile run and you barely, get winded.
Wow. That's a good goal to shoot for.
Yeah.
So back to you, Henry. That, 2008 crash happened. You team had to pivot quickly. You all decided to get lean, buckle up, moving through this process. How was that like? Was it easy?
It was not easy, but it was pretty clear what we had to do. And as I said, I think there was a clear path there. And, we've always had that. We were never one of those sort of unicorn startups that are just like blowing through cash. We raised less money for Boundless than we did for Creditland, And Boundless lasted for 15 years, reached $100 million in revenue versus Creditland, died 2 years in, 3 years in. So we were more prudent. I'd learned from my mistakes, and we collectively ran a tighter ship, and we're never that far off, right? Yeah, we raised VC and we invested in technology, but we were always sort of arm's length from profitability so we could get there. It was funny, my CTO at the time, David Detmer, we had this goal, we're going to get profitable in 6 months. So we decided we're not going to shave until we get profitable. So we didn't shave for like 6 months. We looked terrible at the end. We had these big beards. But it was this rallying cry, and just put it, every time you look in the mirror, you're like, yeah, we got to get to profitability. We got to get to profitability. And everybody in the company could see, all right, they're not shaving. We're not there yet.
Wow.
So that was really cool. We took it from the, in NHL hockey league, a lot of teams, they don't shave during the playoffs. So they just grow these huge beards until they either get kicked out or they win the Stanley Cup.
Talking about determination, talking about burn the boat.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then your wife's on you every day. It's like, you're going to get profitable? You can shave that thing off.
Then was that day finally came?
There was 1 month, I forget when it was, but finally we proved profitability, and then we got to shave. It was a great feeling.
Amazing. Wow. That must feel really good.
Yeah, it did. We took pictures before and after and shared them with everybody.
And what happened next?
Well, now you're profitable and you control your own destiny, so that felt great. That were probably 2011, 2012. What's interesting, though, is like now the VCs aren't really interested in you anymore. Because the VC, even though we're, now probably 40 million in revenue, profitable company, but we're not growing super fast, right? They want these unicorns, right? That's how the whole VC world works. It's either they invest in 10 companies and bet that one's going to be a unicorn and a couple of them is going to give like a 5-10x return, and then they don't care about the rest. So we were like old news. We raised our first round in 2006. Here we are 2012, 6 years later.
Yeah.
So they weren't really interested in investing more. So from that point forward, we were operating as a non-funded company, basically. We and continue to build it, based on our own profits. So and did a pretty darn good job doing that. We grew from where we were, $40 million to $100 million, and had a successful exit in the end, sold the company. And
how do you know when to walk away?
That was a board decision. Similar there, like VCs, every investment they make is part of a fund that has a limited time frame, right? And they need to return that the returns to the LPs, their investors, within a 10-year time frame or so. So I think it was like around 10 years after our original investment, 2016, that we're like, okay, we're at a point we should be able to have a good exit here. So let's go see if we can sell the company.
And that's not hard to walk away for you, Henrik?
It was. I didn't walk away right away. We ended up selling to a company that kept the company intact, actually. And so it turned out great because we didn't have to walk away. And most companies, when you get acquired, they get chopped up and, the brand goes away. Most of the employees, especially the original employees, leave. But we didn't. So they kept us as a separate entity, a wholly owned subsidiary, and we kept on running it.
It's amazing.
So I did that for another 3 years. I had an earn out there, so they had good incentives to stick around. But at that time, it started to feel like you were done. I mean, I'd spent 13 years there at the time, and which is an eternity in the startup world. I look back and say, how did that happen? How did I spend 15 years at that company? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But it was a good run. We built a great company and created great careers for a lot of people. A very diverse culture. Participated in the Pride Parade every year, and it was a really, really great company. And
you had a good run.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. So a lot of great memories. And my kids, we had our daughter Chloe in 2004 and Axel 2008. So their whole upbringing was with me at Boundless. When I told them I was going to quit, they're like, "What?" They never seen anything else.
Oh wow!
But yeah, so then at Boundless, after we sold and after about a year in with the new owners, I was like, "Yeah, time to start something else." So I started, using my career coach's old advice, start talking to people, and I had started traveling to China at that point because we're manufacturing some products over there, and that really got my wheels turning. Really seeing for the first time how overseas supply chain works and the difference between factories and factories. Some are highly sophisticated with robots and stuff, and Then others are basically, somebody's apartment garage with kids working in there, right? So it's this massive difference. And also, one thing I inherited from my mom was I was always cared a lot about the environment and, doing the right thing. So to me, that also opened up, oh, wow, we don't know what goes into our things. We don't know how they're manufactured. So the original idea was more of a transparency software that would allow people to see where things come from. So that if I buy this product, I should have a little QR code I can scan, and it should pop up and say, this rubber ring came from here, and this came from here, and it was made in this factory. So that was my original business idea. For various reasons, I didn't see there being a big market for that, at least not at the time. But I started talking to people about it, and that's how the idea of Gembah came around, to not only provide transparency in the supply chain, but actually providing the supply chain to companies that don't know how to do it.
Tell us more about Gembah.
Yeah, love to. So yeah, our grand vision is to democratize product creation, so that anybody, anywhere that has an idea for a new product should be able to create it, right? Because right now, even though I think we're all creative people, we're born to run, we're also born to create, right? That's the other thing that made us different than all the other species on the planet, that we could envision things that don't exist and make them happen, right? Or create them.
That.
Like, we create a shelter and weapons and tools, and eventually that's what separated us from the other species, right? Because if you go back a few 100,000 years, right, we were a pretty insignificant species walking around in savannah. There were a lot of animals that could kill us. We were not the fastest or the strongest. But by imagining things that don't exist and making them, eventually we moved up the food chain, and now we control the earth, right? So it's pretty powerful. So we always say it's innately and uniquely human to create things. So that's our mantra. We want to empower, share the power of creation, and allow people to create things. And it's really, we get inspired too, because right now most things are created by large corporations, and mostly white men sitting in buildings, probably deciding what to create based on market research. And I think that it's something really powerful about empowering anyone, anywhere, right? What if there's a mom of an autistic child in Egypt that has this idea of a device that could help them, and if we could empower that person to create a product that makes the world a little better, and that person doesn't care if she sells 1 million units, right? She's okay with creating 500 or whatever it is. So we're passionate about that, of bringing the ability to create and start your own business to underrepresented groups anywhere, here in the U.S. and elsewhere. So that's the grand vision. How do you do that? Well, we build a software platform that allow anybody to create things. It has all the knowledge of how to create something. So again, if you take this bottle, you say, I want to create one of these, it'll spit out whatever, 150-point project plan, say, oh, here are all the things you have to do. And then for each task, I'll say, this is the type of person that can help you with that. An industrial designer, a mechanical engineer, a QC person, quality control person. And here are factories that can help you make that. And then help them go through the entire process of working with those people. So
wow,
bringing together the perfect project plan with the perfect people and help you create products.
That's a massive undertaking with such a big database and that, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, we have over 2,000 factories now all over the world, and 6 different regions.
Wow.
And teams all over the world. So on our all hands meeting, we have like people from 9 different countries. Our holiday calendar is just ridiculous because we have all the holidays in India and China and Mexico in there. It's not like everybody gets the holiday off, but we at least recognize that there's a holiday in a different country.
How amazing. You're connecting the world and empower everybody to create, to make their dream come true.
Amen.
So is this all, or there's so much more, Henry? I feel like you are starting one after another after another. I feel like that's in your nature to create more and more venture, to empower, to support the community, the people all at large. Is this what you want to see yourself doing for next XYZ years?
Yeah. I mean, I think that this could be a category-defining company. We always talk about that like everybody knows. If you say, where do you go to buy products overseas in China? Everybody says Alibaba. Okay, everybody knows that, right? If you ask people, where do you go to create new products? Nobody has an answer. So that's the gap that we want to fill. And we believe that with all the other trends that are going on in the world, right? E-commerce is growing like crazy. We have the Great Resignation in the U.S. of, Gen Zers don't want to work for big companies. They don't want to go to the office. And similar for millennials and Gen X. I don't think that work's going to look the same in the decades to come, right? So you have that trend. And then you have the trend of supply chain disruption, China, tariffs, COVID, probably continuing to have tense relations with China over a period. And also the rising cost in China is driving a lot of manufacturing away from there because it's becoming less and less affordable. And then you have Ukraine happening that's also disrupting supply chain. So these three things are just driving more and more people want to start their own business, more and more people doing e-commerce, and it's getting harder and harder to get the stuff that you need to sell. So I think that all that is creating this perfect storm in a good way for Gembah, that there's going to be a lot of people that need our services. And to date, we're the only one that really provide it in the way we are. Right? So we have a head start, try to run as fast as we can before anybody else figures it out.
That's amazing. So, Henry, back to you. I'm curious, what drives you?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that.
No,
Well, I
that's
mean,
a
part
good
of it,
time.
I think, is that I want to make a difference. Boundless was awesome in many ways and rewarding. But in the end, we were helping marketing teams in big companies do a little better, right? Or we're helping procurement teams save some money. And I never had that sense of accomplishment or that or sense of that this is important, what we're doing, right? It was important and good because we provided good jobs and we did good things. But in the end, if we didn't do it, would it have mattered? So I always felt like I wanted to do one more, and I wanted to do something that would make a difference, that I'd be proud of, and my mom would be proud of. So I think that's what drives me. Also because I think I can, and I think if I didn't, that'd be waste.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have certain abilities, then why not use it? I mean, I don't like playing golf anyway, so I enjoy working. I mean, I like to work a little bit less, but yeah, I think I don't see it as just like you work just to then have the weekends off or support yourself. I mean, this is what I do.
I believe human beings, we work to find meanings in our lives.
Yeah.
So with that, Henry, are you proud of yourself today?
Some days. I'm proud of my family.
Yeah.
I'm proud of, I think, being a good person and being a good husband. At work, I'm pretty critical of myself. I actually have a CEO coach that I work with, and I fill out a weekly report and I rate myself, and it's never a 10 on a scale from 1 to 10. So I think I'm pretty introspective and as I said, pragmatic about it. It's not like I'm beating myself up and saying, "Dan, Henrik, you screwed up." Sometimes I do, but most of the time it's more like, yeah, this, I wish it would have gotten more done. I wish we would have done better here. And so I guess the short answer, not yet from a work perspective. I'm not proud of what we accomplished yet, but I hope one day I will be.
What does success means to you, Henry?
Success?
Yeah, what does that mean for you?
I mean, I think having an impact, I mean, there's a different level of success, right? It's success in family and in life and, living in a good way that you're a net positive contribution to the world. And, I think on a day-to-day basis, I look at my family, I look at what I accomplished. I think that's success.
Do you think you are a success today?
Yeah. But it could be more. I could be more successful. No, I'd really want to, create a category defining a big successful company that has an impact on the world. But thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of people are making their living through Gembah, right? Creating new great things that have an impact, and ideally making those products in more sustainable ways. So we shift consumption away from things that damage the planet to things that are at least less damaging. The least damaging is to stop consumption, but I don't think that's realistic. People are gonna want to buy stuff. So can we help people make that stuff in a more sustainable way? I think so, and that'd be pretty cool.
I think you have such a big heart, Henry. I can tell that you have this vision. You want to truly make this world a better place by empowering, by enabling individuals to make their dream come true in a more sustainable way, so that we all can win. We win, human win, nature win, the earth win, everybody win along the process, and that's incredible. And I'm curious, Henry, in your perspective, you are the serious entrepreneur. You start one company after another. You go after, nothing ever set you back. I'm curious, what is your superpower? What made you successful?
I don't think I have a superpower, but I enjoy creation, I think. I used to draw a lot as a kid. I used to write a lot. Sometimes I think I should have become an artist instead of a businessman.
Ooh, what would you be if you were an artist?
So, I'm about to finish a book about transparency in business and supply chain. So hoping to publish that this fall.
It's happening.
Yeah, so that's great. I always wanted to do more painting or art. Just never have found the time. I wrote screenplays. I made a couple of short films.
What?
Between Creditland and when I started Boundless.
That's so cool.
Put together a whole crew here in Austin, and we shot a short film. It was an amazing experience. And right now we're also working on a reality TV show for help to promote Gembah. To follow these entrepreneurs that start with ideas, maybe have failed creating a product, and then follow their journey all the way to final product. So it'd be like Shark Tank, but before Shark Tank. When people end up on Shark Tank, they're already successful, right? But we want to create a show about that journey, the creator's journey. So right now we have a deal with a production company, Scout Productions. They did Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and a bunch of others.
It's amazing.
And they have a production deal with several studios. So I'm hoping if we talk again in 3 months, that we've sold a reality TV show, and then that's what's going to put Gembah on the map.
That's amazing. Wow. And Henry, I know you meet so many creators in the world who have this huge heart, huge dream to create this amazing product. I'm curious, what do you think is number one reason that he or she, becomes successful in their journey of creation? What is one thing? Is it a mindset? Is it a characteristic? Is it a hardworking? Is it determination? Is it a vision? Is it tenacity? It could be all of those things. But is there one thing that you felt like is a fundamental element for their?
I think most people, it's about creating a better world for themselves and their families. I think ultimately, I think most people are driven by that. And I think that the idea of having your own business, controlling your own life, not just trading your time, which is limited on this earth, for money, right? Going to a job you don't like. You may know the stats, but there's some crazy amounts, like 70-80% of people don't feel motivated or excited at work, right? So the vast majority of people just go to work every day and hate it and wait for Friday to come around, right? So
I think that's so sad.
I think it's terrible. Because we only have so much time. So I think for people to be able to control their own time, to build their own business, I think that it's just something really appealing about that. And I promote it. I hope my kids become entrepreneurs, because even though it's sometimes a hard journey, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade it for a corporate career and, probably a much smoother path and better paying job if I would have stayed at Anderson Consulting all this years. I made a lot of money that way too. And not have to take in that much risk. But
life is not about money, is it?
No. And the fact that you control your own life, you get to put your your little imprint, even if it's, a small one in the big scheme of things, but that you had an impact. Your life mattered in some way.
Yeah, I love that because I felt the same. I think even though in the big picture we all so small and tiny and trivial, but if we can make our day slightly different, exciting, make an impact here and there, I think collectively we can create that butterfly effect,
Yeah.
and we can really make the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, one of our core values at Gembah, and it was at Boundless too, was embrace the fun. Because I think that, we encourage everybody to try to put a smile on the other person's face, whether you talk to a customer or a fellow employee or suppliers. Like, just let's bring some joy into this, because life's too short. The days are too long to not enjoy yourself. So I think that's, if you can make somebody else's day just a little bit better, then you have a little bit of that butterfly effect.
That's beautiful. If, Henry, you have a magic wand, you can go back to any moment in life if you want to. Would you change anything? Any choices and decisions?
Probably not. Not that there aren't things I regret, but if you watch what's it called? There's some show right now about time travel, that if you go back and change anything, you never know what the effects are going to be. There's certainly things, and it's kind of weird to think about it too, right? The two children I have are there only because of everything that happened up in that moment when we created them, right? If anything had changed prior to that, we wouldn't have them. It'd be somebody else maybe, but not them. And I think that. So yeah, short answer, no. I don't think I'd change anything because I'm happy with where things are.
Yeah. What do you like to leave the world behind with, Henry? When people think about you, thousands of years later, what do you like them to think about you?
I read somewhere that somebody wrote a book. I think it's an Australian author that interviewed people.
Say it one more time.
They interviewed old people in some old folks' home, people that were pretty close to the end, about what they thought about life, and if they regretted anything, and what they thought was important. And I think close to everyone said it's just about the people that you love, the people that are close to you, and what they think that matters in the end. So I don't aspire to have some monument or a statue of me anywhere. I think that if your kids say that Dad was an awesome dude, a great father, and they tell their grandkids that, and I think that would be the best.
I'm sure they say that today.
I hope so.
Henry, what would you wish you tell your younger version of yourself? What would you wish he know? Now you know.
Don't go into that bar in Yugoslavia.
Say it one time.
Don't go into that bar in Yugoslavia.
What happened?
It's a long story. What would I tell myself?
Yeah. Maybe it's a younger version when we were, 14, 15, when our first dream did not come true, being a runner, or when our first company did not exactly succeed as we expected. What would you want him to know?
Yeah, the first company definitely would conserve cash. But yeah, again, I've had a really good life. I'm very grateful for the life I've had, and I made plenty of mistakes and failed at about half of the ventures I've been through. But you learn from the failure, and I think sometimes people see failure as this terrible thing. I think often when we look back, that's how we learn. And it's in the eye of the beholder too, right? If you're beating yourself up over it, then then you keep on inflicting that same pain on yourself over and over. I think you have to be a little bit like an NFL quarterback. You have to have very short memory, and you make a mistake, it's like, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up. What happened happened. I can't change it right now. All I can deal with is the situation I have in front of me, and move forward. And I say, if anything, they maybe appreciate the little things and be grateful.
Appreciate little things and being grateful. I love that. And one new word I learned lately is called tragic optimism. And I think quite describing what you just said earlier. And oftentimes there's a failure, there's challenge, there's a upset, there's a mistake. But we just get up, keep going. It does not matter when you fall, only matter when you get up.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Henry, I want to ask you a last question. What does American dream mean for you? You are someone come afar from a long way, and today you find your home here in Austin, Texas. Your amazing career, a wonderful family, and lovely friends surrounding you and community. And I'm curious, what's American dream meant for you?
Well, I think in many ways I'm living it. I
Maybe
also understand that I'm very privileged as a white man, and that's something that I think more so lately than when I was younger is really see that so that's something that it's going to be a priority going forward to really try to build a more diverse culture and engage in those questions more. I think there's some really I love America. I love everything that this they've been able to accomplish here, and there's some concerning things going on in this country right now, I think, with freedoms being taken away, and that's very disturbing to me. But I can't control that. So I'll stick to the original answer. The American dream, I think it's great. I've been able to come here from a different country and be able to build an awesome life here, and I think that that's still something really amazing about America, that you can do that. But I think we all need to work on making sure that that dream is available to everybody.
I love that. We are here to make the world a better place for us, but also for everybody around.
Yes.
Anything else, Henry, you want to share with us that I have not asked today?
What's your definition of the American dream?
Ooh. I'm someone come a long way from a little mountain town, a little village in China, all the way in America, and I came here 11 years ago. For me, American dream is still alive and thriving in my heart. And for me, the way how I see it is this ability to have an idea, having a vision, and make it happen. And where I come from is not much a case, especially for a woman who looks like me, who sounds like me. Having too much ambition is not a good thing from where I come from. Where I come from, my voice does not matter. No one want to hear what I have to say. All it matters is me sitting still, smile often, wear dresses. That's all it counts. And I never see that for myself. And I think American offer me this playground that I get to define who I wanted to be rather than what the world see me in it. And I get to not only define myself, I get to have ability to turn my idea, my vision, and go after whatever dream I want, because the world, it is our oyster. If you can dream it, you can make it happen. And I truly believe in that, having that determination, but also paired with the hard work, asking questions, being curious, and being humble. So what if you screw up? Just get up, second time. That sense of freedom is something that I truly, truly humble and grateful for. It's nothing that I've been given to. I fight for everything in my life so I can have this sense of freedom and joy. And today I'm living here. I felt tremendous grateful. It gave me everything I have in my life. And I felt so honored that if I can extend this dream for many others just like me.
That's beautiful. I got goosebumps.
Oh, thank you.
No, but that's really amazing, because I come from Sweden. Is also democracy and a free, very free country, even more free than the U.S. I would say today. But so America, great. But I never had that huge shift. You can start a company and be successful in Sweden too, and express yourself. But I hear that there often we forget how grateful we should be, how lucky we are to wake up every day and have the freedoms that we have. So thanks for reminding me of that. That's great.
Well, I felt tremendous honor. I really think about this. A mountain girl like me never meant to come this far. And in this exact moment, I get to sit in front of this amazing human being, amazing leader, get to share the stories. And I want to say, it's never just happened for me. I hustle, 3 decades every single day. So then I had the honor, I have the chance to sit here having a conversation. And I really don't take it lightly. So thank you for reminding me of my why and why I'm here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, with that, everybody, thank you so much for tuning with us today. I am so enjoyed this conversation. I hope you are too. And I cannot wait to see you all next week. Bye, guys.